So while making a video yesterday, I had to make some tweaks to my division settings for my display and the dual monitor setup that I have. Well, someone who plays on console saw it and they started to chant drivers and settings and those things that some people would say maybe to disparage the PC ecosystem or justify why they don't play on PC or whatever it is. But I'll go ahead and show you something, really interesting about the way the setup actually did handle the game and why I decided, okay, man, I really need to go ahead and make this tweak. So what I have here is my setup. I have a dual monitor setup. So one of them is in portrait mode. The other one is in landscape mode. So the one that's in landscape mode, what I've decided to do is, for the sake of readability, I can pretty much fire up articles and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And for readability, one of the best things that this thing does for me is I can simply go in and I can read stuff in portrait mode in a very interesting way. It really just gives me a lot more room. So that's pretty much why I set it up that way. Now, this is something very simple. Anybody who has ever maybe worked on, any computing devices, or maybe you use it for presentations or whatnot, you already know this little trick where with dual monitor setups, you can extend display, duplicate displays, and just simple stuff that you can do on Windows. Well, this audience member said this to that effect. Every time I watch PC people try to play, they always have issues and they always have to go screen to screen and take so long. This is why consoles will stay, put the game in and play, no messing with drivers, updates multiple screens, and 5 to 10 minutes later, hopefully loads up right. PC is a joke. Now, the funny thing is, the last time I played the Division 2, I played it on the monitor on the right side, but then it was in landscape mode. So the game fired up and was like, hey man, I don't recognize this setup at this moment. You need to hook me up. And all I did was just change it in real time. But now the game is actually, fired up and is playing on the monitor that we set it on yesterday. And so that's where I wanted the game to play. So a small tweak and a small setup just took me maybe 4 6 seconds, and they've turned it to 5 to 10 minutes. Let me see what I can diagnose from what's going on here. And I had to hide the username of this individual because this person is somebody who likes to argue in bad faith. In fact, I basically replied them and I laughed and I said, why do you like to argue in bad faith? Like, what is the problem? Is there some layer of insecurity that you feel about the PC as a gaming platform? What is the big issue here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I got to ask you because many people act like PC is this foreign thing that they've never seen in their lives, when in reality, let me take up this Chunga guy. Oh, crud. That they've never seen in their life, when in reality, a lot of people use PCs for many different activities in their lives. And so when I see people act like, oh, yeah, this PC thing is this, and because of my convenience and all that, it becomes this, and then they want to disparage console. Here's the thing. The PC platform is very flexible, and you basically have the capability to make it malleable. What you saw me do in real time was basically pretty much beat my PC into submission to do what I wanted it to do. And that's exactly what many people go to PC gaming for. On consoles, you can't do that. So you said dual monitor setup like it's a bad thing, but in reality, a dual monitor setup is something that is relegated only to devices of this nature. It's not going to be something that will be easy to accomplish, with a console, to do a dual monitor setup with a console without using maybe a splitter, or maybe they make a console that gives you multi-display ports, which is not something that they do. So that particular functionality is not something that you have on a console. Now, you don't need it, or maybe you want it and you just don't have it, or maybe they decided, maybe it's not necessary. It is what it is. You got to look ahead and say, okay, what is it that I'm actually needing here when I come to a platform like this? And so when you say, oh, monitor here, monitor there, monitor A, monitor B, and all that stuff, you make it sound like, people who set up a dual monitor or triple monitor, or quad monitor setup, are suffering from it. Like, you got to understand that it's actually a quality of life thing that, was chosen by the individual who's using it. And I don't know what it is, with the discourse these days, people are just so wired to mock everything that sometimes the things that are beneficial or they advance, usability are the things that are mocked. Sometimes they'll mock customer friendly pro consumer things just because it's not the thing that they do. I I don't even see this behavior in teenagers. You know what I mean? It's surprising though that this is the kind of behavior that we're seeing in adults. You know what I mean? I don't know what the heck has happened to society, bro. Like it's wild and weird, man. Like that somebody would come out and say, "Oh yeah, dual monitor setup, blah blah blah," and just say something like this, and I'm looking like, why? What is the? I'm surprised. You know what I mean? I teach middle schoolers. If it's about, smack talking and stuff, those kids, they got it. Like, you know what I mean? Some of you can't survive. That's just the truth. You will not survive a middle school classroom. I'm just saying. So if it's not about the attitude or the whatever it is, it's just the fact that I'm seeing people who are older than the youngins do the childish stuff, say the childish stuff, which it surprises me. Like, I'm like, yo, did that come out of an adult's mouth? I'd expect the kid, a young person that is a teenager to say something like that, or say something, but they will never say that because for some strange reason, I don't know, bro. I'm not going to say anything anymore because, it just delves into the air, into the realm of, trying to maybe disparage somebody. And I do not want to do that, man. But again, you can understand my shock in a sense when I read something like that. And I can't shake the feeling, could it be trolling though? But there's a side where you can troll and you can still be intelligible with it, right? Because this to me is the strangest thing I have ever seen in this particular conversation. I don't know, bro. I think a lot of, oh man, I do not know what to say. Let me take out these bad guys. And oh man. Yo, this is weird, man. This is weird. I've never seen some of the stuff that I've seen lately with the madness going on. Did I just activate that control point? I didn't intend to do that. I'm gonna head and do this and then we should be done. Oh, they're already shooting at me because they're like, oh, you called us into question. But anyways, the convenience of, gaming on whatever device you want to game on and enjoying the quality of life features that are there, are to each their own. But again, I think what it is let me not bother saying that because it may come off weird. I'm not intending to do that. I'm just intending to just point out and say, man, how can somebody make such a conclusion, in that regard? What's even funny is the person went ahead and made another comment on another, a response to another comment and said PC gamers are the worst. I'm going to block them, by the way, just so that you all know. I mean, I'm blocking this, this person. This same person, they said PC gamers are the worst. Demand console games, but then don't port the console. Bro, nobody's demanding console games, man. The reality is that I think what must have happened here is a lot of people were holding on to this thing about exclusivity, and the market broke these companies. They broke Xbox and PlayStation, and they started putting their games on PC. Now, there had always been the memes. PC gamers had already started to talk about how their platform was superior. In many cases, the PC platform does edge out. In many cases, colossally overtake what console does. And it's not because, of anything special. It's just the fact that the console makers have always closed down the ecosystem for their own major benefit. So when the gamer walks away from it and enjoys more benefits, it's always been something where they go ahead and, they lord it over the console like, yeah, you can't get me, something like that. And I think a lot of people are kind of like, just in a sense, broken about the fact that, or just burnt about the fact that the games that they held dear to their chest as well, the people who over there who went to PC to enjoy these things can't get them while we can get them, but now they get them and they get the things that they've been enjoying all this while. I think it kind of maybe in a sense has, it's rubbed them off the wrong way. And I think this is probably the reason a lot of people have left and are leaving the console ecosystem. When the data looks, when the data is looked at, you see people like Matthew Ball talk about how, the PC gaming industry has grown about 20% since I think 2020 or so. I can't remember exactly when the data set has been pulled, but it's very interesting to see that, this is something that's going on. Now, another thing too is a lot of folk will sit in misconceptions as well. I've heard people say, but I can't afford a PC. And I say, well, what did you spend on the console, and what are you gonna spend on your next console? Because a lot of folk are gonna spend money on their next console, but many of them think that they cannot afford a gaming PC because they've been told that they cannot afford a gaming PC. When in reality, they absolutely can. The only difference is that nobody wants to give them information on how they can go ahead and afford themselves really good PCs. And whenever somebody is giving any information, we have people like these that come in and try to detract, or come in and try to, basically steer the conversation away from, you know, what the truth and the reality is. Because in their minds, if they continue to sow some kind of a discord, you know, into this whole thing, then I don't know what it is. I don't know what they're aiming to gain. I don't know what they're aiming to do. But that's why I said that, these people are bad faith actors. They're not here for honesty in the conversation. They're not here to, find out what the truth is, or even weigh other positions against theirs. Instead, this is what they want to go ahead and start doing. It's quite interesting. It could be a troll account, but I've been seeing the person comment for a very long time, and I think now they're just doing it from a position of just a lot of malice. A lot of comments that they've been making lately have just been very interesting. But this one actually, this one kind of put me in a position where I'm like, yeah, you need to hold that block. It is what it is. You can create another spam account and come back, but this account, I don't want to see it here anymore. Get out of my classroom. Peace out.